Samuel Taylor Coleridge Biography. Samuel Taylor Coleridge, Life, Works, and Legacy. Samuel Taylor Coleridge, 1772–1834, was one of the most brilliant minds of the English Romantic era, a poet, critic, philosopher, and conversationalist whose works helped to redefine English literature. Best known for the Rime of the Ancient Mariner and Kubla Khan, Coleridge's poetry and criticism blended imagination, philosophy, and profound psychological insight. Early life and education. Samuel Taylor Coleridge was born on October 21, 1772, in Ottery St. Mary, Devon, England, the youngest of 10 children. His father, Reverend John Coleridge, was a vicar and schoolmaster, while his mother, Anne Bowden Coleridge, managed the large household. Samuel was a highly imaginative child, fond of reading and inventing stories. His father's death in 1781, when Samuel was only 8, deeply affected him. Soon after, he was sent to Christ's Hospital School in London, a rigorous and often harsh boarding school. There, he befriended Charles Lamb, another future writer. The school's strict environment was challenging, but Coleridge's voracious reading, from Greek and Latin classics to contemporary works, began to shape his literary sensibilities. In 1791, he entered Jesus College, Cambridge, intending to study for the ministry. However, his restless nature and mounting debts led him to leave before completing his degree. Early adulthood and radical ideas. While at Cambridge, Coleridge met fellow radical thinkers and became fascinated by political reform. In 1794, he met Robert Southey, and together they conceived a utopian project called Pantisocracy, envisioning a communal society in America based on equality and shared labour. Though the plan failed, the friendship was formative. That same year, Coleridge married Sarah Fricker, Southey's sister-in-law, though their marriage was troubled from the start. They eventually had 4 children, but the union lacked emotional harmony. Friendship with Wordsworth and the birth of Romanticism. In 1795, Coleridge met William Wordsworth and his sister, Dorothy, a turning point in his literary career. The friendship between Coleridge and Wordsworth was one of the most important in English literary history. Their collaboration culminated in the 1798 publication of Lyrical Ballads, a landmark collection that is often seen as the starting point of the Romantic movement. Coleridge's contributions included The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, a haunting narrative poem blending supernatural elements with moral and spiritual symbolism, and The Nightingale. Wordsworth wrote most of the remaining poems, but Coleridge's imaginative power gave the volume much of its unique character. Major works and literary achievements. Coleridge's poetic output was relatively small, but its influence was vast. Among his most famous works, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, 1798. A tale of sin, guilt, and redemption, told through vivid imagery and a mesmerizing rhythm. Kubla Khan, written 1797, published 1816. A dream-like fragment inspired by an opium-influenced vision, filled with exotic and mystical imagery. Christabel, 1797–1800. An unfinished narrative poem blending Gothic mystery with psychological depth. Coleridge was also a pioneering literary critic and philosopher. His Biographia Literaria, 1817, combined autobiography, literary theory, and philosophical reflections, establishing him as one of the greatest minds in English criticism. He explored concepts such as the imagination, symbolism, and the role of nature in poetry. Health struggles and opium addiction. Coleridge's life was shadowed by chronic illness, both physical and mental. Suffering from neuralgic pain and bouts of depression, he began using laudanum, an opium tincture, for relief. Unfortunately, this led to a lifelong addiction, which worsened his health and strained his relationships. His marriage deteriorated further, and his friendship with Wordsworth also cooled in later years, partly due to personal misunderstandings and Coleridge's increasing dependence on opium. Later, life and influence. In 1804, Coleridge travelled to Malta, where he worked as acting public secretary to the governor, hoping the climate would improve his health. Though his stay was productive, he returned to England still plagued by illness and addiction. From 1816 onward, Coleridge lived in Highgate, North London, as a patient and guest in the home of Dr. James Gilman. The stability and care he received there allowed him to continue writing, lecturing, and engaging in deep philosophical conversations. His lectures on Shakespeare and English literature were particularly celebrated for their insight. Death and Legacy 1. Samuel Taylor Coleridge died on July 25, 1834, at the age of 61, and was buried in Highgate. At his death, his reputation was mixed. He was admired for his brilliance, but criticised for his unfinished works and personal struggles. 2. Over time, however, his standing in English literature grew immensely. Coleridge is now recognised not only for his imaginative poetry, but also for his profound influence on literary criticism, philosophy, and the Romantic movement. His exploration of the imagination, symbolism, and the supernatural has inspired generations of poets and thinkers. Conclusion. Samuel Taylor. Coleridge's life was marked by extraordinary creativity, intellectual ambition, and human frailty. Though plagued by illness and addiction, he left behind some of the most original and enduring works in the English language. His collaboration with Wordsworth helped redefine poetry, while his critical writings shaped literary theory for centuries to come. In both poetry and prose, Coleridge championed the power of the imagination, a vision that continues to captivate readers and scholars to this day. Thank you for watching. For more videos, like, share, and subscribe.